Turn that light on. Let's keep forgetting. Need more lighting. I feel like Alfred Hitchcock walking in. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Excuse me, folks. 1 minute. Had to do that. Okay. Hi, Murdock, too. Hey, how's it going? How's everybody today? You want to introduce me? I'll try. Hello, everybody. It's welcome with lunchtime with Mikey and Murdock too. Yay! And today we're talking about TOS, and it is the Space Seed episode 1 or episode 22 of season 1. Well, you got the other part a little mixed, but hey, you got it. Thank you. I love this doll. Anyway, hello, welcome everybody. Of course, as Mr. Murdock 2 surmised, today is season 1, episode 22 of the original TOS series, titled Space Seed. And of course, we get the awesome Ricardo Montalban as a traveler from the past, while the Enterprise is in deep space, and they find this lost Botany Bay ship. And of course, it features Montalban and a bunch of people that all come from the eugenics wars. They're supermen, superwomen. They're tough to beat, yeah. Even the Kirk gets into a big fight with Ricardo towards the end, and the only way he knocks him out is with this big, huge thing that goes like right on his head. But anyway, it's a great story. It's rated very high, 8.9 out of 10 by a lot of people. Face it, I gave it an A+. This is one of the all-time best episodes from the early season 1 of Enterprise. It's also one of the best episodes all time from the original series of all 79 episodes. Remember, it led right to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, with the original cast in that movie. And that movie is considered the greatest movie of all 13 Star Trek films, including the unofficial 14th one, which is Galaxy Quest. Now, in my own opinion, because I'm so partial to my city of San Francisco and not San Francisco, that Gorilla calls it, I make that my number one, the Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, and then Wrath of Khan, and then my third best would be Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, of course, with Christopher Plummer. Yeah. So those are my top 3. And then my last 3 would be in order, would be Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Then Star Trek, The Motion Picture. And finally, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Yeah. Sorry, Shatner. You don't get numbers. You don't get number 5 before The Motion Picture. I like The Motion Picture. And a little bit better than I did number 5. So So anyway, Shatner, you get no love from me. You get number 6 of the 6 movies that featured the original cast. Okay, so we got 2 people watching. Awesome. Make sure that, today, especially, because this is a special episode, let me know in the chat. Let me know what your favorite Star Trek episode is from season 1 or from any of the 3 seasons all time. And this is one of my best of all time. So, alrighty. So let's go take a look. Alrighty. Yeah, it got from over 5,800 people. It's got an 8.7 out of 10. So I basically gave it an A. It's an A+ for me. While on patrol in deep space, Captain Kirk and his crew find and revive a genetically engineered world conqueror and his compatriots from Earth's 20th century. Yeah, it's very, very good. All right, let's take a look. Okay, director Mark Daniels was the one who directed this awesome episode. And Gene L. Kuhn, Carrie Wilbur, and Gene Roddenberry, of course, all wrote it. And like I said, it features the great Ricardo Montalban, who plays Khan, and Madeline Rue. We're going to talk about her too. She plays Marla, the the woman scientist who falls in love with Khan in this episode. Okay. Plus the usual cast of characters. You had, Kirk, Spock, Dr. McCoy, Scotty, Uhura. Yeah. This one I don't believe had either Chekhov or Sulu in it. So, okay. All right, let's take a look at the trivia. Now remember, there's probably a lot of trivia, so I'm only going to, as I said, I always go into just the first 5 or 6, depending on how many there are. Okay, the main cast were enthusiastic about working with Ricardo Montalban. DeForest Kelley later said, "I enjoyed working with Ricardo the best. I was privileged. He is a marvelous actor." Gene Roddenberry questioned Carrie Wilbur's notion of wasting a high-tech spaceship and expensive resources on criminals, just like Kirk and Spock came up with the same question in the story itself and came up with the concept of a bunch of Napoleons self-exiling in space. Ricardo Montalban called his role as Khan wonderful, saying that it was well written. It had an interesting concept, and I was delighted it was offered to me. Following positive feedback from the producers and the network regarding James Doohan, this was the first episode to feature a more prominent role for Scotty. The automated signal that the SS Botany base sends, CQ, is a natural Morse code shorthand for CQ, or please answer, anyone that can hear this. Cool. Okay. There are, let's see here. Oh, there's some spoilers. So go ahead and put, there's just a few. So make sure you put your, hands over your ears, and then when I'm ready, I'll just go like that. Okay. All right, the first spoiler is Lieutenant Marla McGivers was supposed to return in Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan in 1982, but Madeline Rue was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and Harve Bennett felt it would be unfair to recast the role. In the film, she is explained to have been killed by the SETI eel creature. Fandom has written many plausible takes on the relationship between Khan and McGivers in quite extraordinary detail. Everything from a wedding performed by Kirk on board ship before the group beams down to their exile, to the possibility that Marla bore Khan one or more children before she died. In the script, Captain Kirk says he hopes Khan and his followers will not get off their exiled planet and come back to the Enterprise. And there are scenes in the second revised final draft, which was dated December 13th, 1966, that were either unfilmed or not aired. Lieutenant Marla McGivers has a scene with Yeoman Baker in which Baker informs her that Lieutenant Hansen wants to go to a ship's dance with her. McGivers tells her to tell Hansen to get lost, that she is waiting for a man who will knock down my door and carry me to where he wants me. This Yeoman Baker then has a couple lines of dialogue as the court recorder at Khan's trial. According to Bijou Trimble's Star Trek Concordance, Barbara Baldavin's name appeared on Desilu call sheets as plain Baker. In one early draft, Khan Noonien Singh was named Ragnar Thornwald. In another, he was named Harold Erickson. The novel To Reign in Hell, The Exile of Khan Noonien Singh, introduces the character of Harulf Erickson as a disgruntled member of Khan's crew who tries to undermine him and is responsible for exposing Marla McGivers to the SETI eel that eventually kills her. The sector of space where the Enterprise discovers the Botany Bay Adrift is ironically also where Khan detonates the Genesis torpedo at the end of Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, 1982. When Khan is still in sickbay, McCoy remarks to Kirk that he could probably lift both of us. In Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, 1982, he does in fact lift both Terrell and Chekhov at the same time. Khan only lifts Chekhov in Star Trek II. A while into the episode, Khan holds Kirk hostage in the depressurization chamber, and he is shown starting to pass out. This is mostly realistic. unlike how many believe that the body would expand and explode when there is no air pressure. What would ultimately happen after passing out is his oral bodily fluids like saliva would boil and evaporate, and the major vessels that are in a more superficial area, like the carotid, like the carotid, artery, jugular vein, etc., could expand and burst. Okay, now you can take your hands away. All right, let's check goofs. Probably a lot of them. All right. First of all, in continuity. Although Lieutenant Kyle, wearing a blue tunic, is operating the transporter device when the team, including Scotty, beams to the Botany Bay, stock footage of James Doohan's hands and red sleeves with Lieutenant Commander rank stripes are seen in the close-up shot. At the hearing, when the witnesses get up to leave to the wide shot, or get up to leave in the wide shot, two black marks, perhaps actors' positioning marks, are seen in the center of the floor. After a few close-ups, the next wide shot, as the first closing credit is shown, has no marks on the floor at all. After Kirk's conversation with Khan in Khan's quarters, the extra playing a security guard changes between shots of Kirk leaving. During Khan and Kirk's one-on-one conversation across the table, the positions of Kirk's and Khan's hands change during cuts. When Khan is revived, Scotty stands by Khan's head in the wide shot. Scotty disappears in close-ups of Khan. All right, here's a few factual errors. Marla, when examining a hibernating Khan prior to his revival, speculates that he's probably a Sikh. There's nothing about Khan's appearance that would suggest that he was a Sikh. Being clean-shaven and bareheaded, he lacked the prerequisite beard and turban. Sikh is not an ethnicity, but a cultural subset of India. Marla McGivers is addressed as lieutenant, but her tunic has the braidless sleeves of an ensign. When the Botany Bay is first detected, McCoy indicates that the people on the Botany Bay couldn't be humans because their heartbeats average about 4 beats per minute. Heartbeats would indicate their life processes have been slowed, not completely suspended. At that rate, after 200 years, assuming an average heartbeat rate of 40 beats per minute normally, due to their genetics, they would have aged approximately 1/10 of the elapsed time, or 20 years. However, none of the people on the Botany Bay have grown facial hair or show any signs of aging. In actuality, they would not have been able to survive without any kind of nutritional intake for that length of time. Okay, there's a couple of revealing mistakes. Obvious stunt doubles when Kirk is fighting Khan in the engine room. Well, that's obvious. In the closing titles, the word script is spelled SCPIPT. Ooh, that's a bad misspelling. Replying to Khan's query in sickbay about his people on the Botany Bay, Kirk tells him that 72 of the life support canisters are functioning. But according to a Stardate recording by Kirk, Khan had cast the useless Botany Bay adrift after only reviving 7 of his people, and only a handful are seen in complicity with Khan on the Enterprise. Not only that, but in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the Botany Bay manages to be on SETI Alpha 5. When Kirk contacts the ship after reviving Khan, he refers to the group as the landing party. When the ship replies, they call them the boarding party. Khan takes McGivers over to mirror on the wall in sickbay right next to the entrance. That mirror was not seen before or after that scene, nor any other episode. When McGivers holds Lieutenant Kyle at phaser point, her finger is not even on the trigger. Her hand is completely wrapped around the power pack just below it. Here's a miscellaneous one. When Khan orders Joaquin, the Fourth Lieutenant Uhura, to engage the viewing screen in the conference room, Mark Tobin, the actor playing Joaquin, accidentally elbows DeForest Kelly in the face. You can see Kelly flinch from the impact and then reach for his eye. Here's an anachronism. Starfleet uses metric units, but the decompression chamber is rated for inches of mercury, not millimeters. An important label like this would get it right. Then there's one scene where the crew or equipment is visible. As Khan hides behind a wall in engineering just before Kirk enters, someone walks in front of a stage light and the shadow of his head passes across the floor. All right, here's a couple of plot holes. During Spock's presentation of his research, Kirk, McCoy, and Scott indicate that they are familiar with Khan's 20th century reputation from their history, and Scotty admits to having always found him somewhat admirable. They have a lavish and apparently iconic portrait of Khan to study. Why did none of them recognize Khan by sight before this? Kirk positions only one guard outside Khan's door, despite McCoy's previous assertion to Kirk that Khan could probably lift us both with one arm. Khan complained of being fatigued when questioned by the captain upon his waking up in sickbay, but yet takes time to ask the captain for reading material because he was an engineer and wanted to study the manuals of Enterprise. The captain should have known he was being evasive and insisted on him answering his questions since he had so much energy to read. Lieutenant MacGyver saves Kirk by using a hypo to knock out one of Khan's men. A few moments later, Spock and another of Khan's henchmen walk into the room, but neither one of them appears to notice or react to the unconscious man fully visible on the floor. All right, here's a couple of character errors. The parent star of the planet where Khan's people are dropped off is referred to as Ceti Alpha. The correct name would be Alpha Ceti, Alpha indicating the brightest star in the constellation of Cetus. The Greek letter always precedes the name of the constellation. When Khan asks for the historian to join the boarding party, he mispronounces her name, MacGyver's, with the correct spelling. Spock tries to correct him as he enters the turbolift, but incorrectly calls her Lieutenant MacGyver. When Marla MacGyvers is summoned to report for duty, she reacts before her name is even mentioned. As Khan wakes up, he asks Kirk how long he's been asleep. Kirk answers 2 centuries. An answer of 3 centuries would have been much closer to the truth. Kirk would have known that Khan left Earth in the late 20th century. Star Trek was taking place nearly 300 years later, but this was not decided until Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan movie came out in 1982. Gene Roddenberry always left the date ambiguous, and the reference here is directly contradicted by the Squire of Gothas in 1967 episode, for example. It is very unprofessional why Captain Kirk allows the suspect people from the SS Botany Bay to freely roam the Enterprise unwatched and unguarded, since the captain is not sure of their motives. This puts his ship in grave danger, obviously. Alrighty. And of course, the Alexander Courage theme from Star Trek played at the beginning and at the end of the episode. Okay. And of course, all filming done at Desilu Studios there in Culver City, California. And the filming date was December 15th, 1966. So it must have done it either in 1 week or less than 1 week. So that's pretty cool. All right. And we have Sir Lemon Pie. Good morning, Lemon. Good morning, Sir Lemon. Good to see you. Okay, we've already got 2 likes. We got 2 people still watching. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and Lemon says Space Seed is my favorite TOS episode, though I've only seen 3 TOS episodes. That's fine, Lemon. It's been a while since I've seen all 79. So I'm in the same boat as you. I only have certain episodes I got picked out that I know for sure were the greatest. This is one of them, but my number 1 has always been I Mud. Yeah. The second one that features Roger C. Carmel is Hardcore Fenton Mud. Yeah. With the androids and all that stuff. That's my ultimate favorite. I love that one. Yeah. So I Mud. I basically would say my top 3 would be I Mud, then Doomsday Machine with William Wyndham, and then I would say this one. Yeah, Space Seed with Ricardo. That'd be my top 3. Yeah. Definitely my top 3. Okay, so we got Lemon Pie in the chat. So great to see you, Sir Lemon. All right, let's finish up here by taking a look at 2 of the cast and crew. The first one, of course, we'll look at Well, you know what? Let's do ladies first. So we'll look at the lady that played. Uh, Now we know that Judson, Judson Scott, played Joaquin in the movie, but we have this guy named Mark Tobin that plays him in the episode. So you know what? We'll add his name too. All right. So let's look at Marla first, played by Madeline Rue. Then we'll look at Joaquin, played by Mark Tobin, and then we'll finally look at Ricardo Montalban, playing Con. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, we did lose Madeline Rue. And the way she spelled it was Madlyn, and then it was Rhue. That was her last name. She worked as an actress, but she also worked in the script and continuity department, as well as worked on the soundtrack. She died in 2003. And let's see. Yeah, so she was born October 3rd, 1935, and died December 16th, 2003, at the age of 68. So still a very young lady in her mid 60s. Okay, American, here's her mini bio. Remember, all of this is background information provided from IMDb, of course. American character actress Madeline Rue was one of television's most prolific actresses and has starred in everything from sitcoms to soap operas to drama series and films for nearly 40 years. Her beautiful looks, natural red hair, and brown eyes got her the attention of television producers, and she found herself guest starring on such series as Rawhide in 59, Cheyenne in 55, Star Trek in 66, Hawaii Five-O in 68, Charlie's Angels in 76, and Fantasy Island in 77, on behalf of Ricardo Montalban, because, he loved her so much in this episode of Star Trek. Later on, he let her do an episode of Fantasy Island. So I knew the connection there. She did several theatrical motion pictures as well. Most memorably, she's known for It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. In 1963, she played the role of Schwartz. She did do 2 episodes of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., from 64 to 67. In one episode, she was Angela Abbase, and another one, she was Clara Valder. And then, of course, she played Marla McIvers, the historian, in this episode. And then later on, she was in Murder, She Wrote. Wow. She played a couple of different characters. She played Jean O'Neill and Doris West, from 1989 to 1996. So she did 5 different episodes of that. And according to the background information, that was the very last thing she worked on as an actress, was Murder, She Wrote. Very cool. Alrighty. So that was the late Madeline Rue. Rest in peace, Madeline. All right. Now we will take a look at the man who played Joaquin in the episode, Mark Tobin. Okay. Mark Tobin, according to the information, is still alive. He not only was known for Star Trek, but he also did Wrecker in 2004 and Game Over in 2012. Game Over was a TV series where he was a producer in 2012. And The Wrecker was a movie short where he produced in 2004. Now, Mark Tobin not only played Joaquin in this episode, but he also played a Klingon in a future episode of Star Trek. So for 2 episodes, he was in Star Trek. And then the old Combat War series, the TV series, he was in 3 episodes of that. He played a first German soldier, a special lieutenant, and a third character. So 3 episodes of that from 65 to 66, Combat. The last thing he worked on, he was a Klingon, uncredited, back in 1999 on the Star Trek Voyager TV series. And the episode he was the Klingon, let's see here, was Season 6, Episode 3, Barge of the Dead, where he played an uncredited Klingon. Very cool. So that is the mini bow for Mark Tobin. Now we'll take a look at the famous Ricardo Montalban. Woohoo! Okay, as you know, we did lose Ricardo back in 2009. And He was born November 25th, 1920, and when he died January 14th, 2009, he was 88 years old. Legend, he won one Primetime Emmy. Let's see, was that for what I think it was? Let's see. No, okay. For playing Satankai, uh, it was 1978 outstanding single performance by a supporting actor in a comedy or drama series for How the West Was Won. So that's what he won in that. Okay. All right. So, legendary actor Ricardo Montalban was the epitome of Latin elegance, charm, and grace on film and television, and in the late 1940s and early 1950s, reinvigorated the Rudolph Valentino Ramon Novarro Latin lover style in Hollywood without achieving top screen stardom. Moreover, unlike most minority actors of his time, he fought to upscale the Latin, particularly Mexican image in Hollywood. His noted militancy may have cost him a number of roles during the day, along the way, but he gained respect and a solid reputation. Okay, so let's see. All right, so he played Armando, the circus trainer, in Escape from the Planet of the Apes in 1971, and he reprised the role in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes in 1972. Then in 1982, of course, that all time one of the greatest Star Trek films ever made, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. And then, of course, in 1988, remember he did The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Academy, or Police Squad. Sorry, The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. He played Vincent Ludwig in 1988. You know, where he told Reggie Jackson to go kill the Queen. Yeah, crazy. All right. The last thing he worked in, according to our information, he was in the series American Dad, and he did the voice of General Juanito Pequeño. He did the voice. That was in 2009. And before that, Seth MacFarlane got to do a voice in Family Guy in 2008, where he was the voice of the cow. And then he did work on a Disney series, Kim Possible, from 2002 to 2007. He did 6 episodes as Senior. He was the voice of that. Very cool. So that is the story of Ricardo Montalban. He also appeared on Laugh-In. I saw a little picture of him there. So that is the wonderful story of Mr. Ricardo Montalban. Very cool. Yeah. His full birth name was Ricardo Gonzalo Pedro Montalban y Marino. He was nicknamed the Latin Lover. When he died in 2009, it was due to congestive heart failure. He was 6 foot. Yeah, he was a big, tall man. So rest in peace, Mr. Ricardo Montalban. We lost you 16 years ago, and TV has never recovered since. All right. Okay, so let's just take a look at what we got coming up next week for Star Trek. So the one right after this. Yeah. Okay, so there were 29 episodes in season 1 of Star Trek. And after Space Seed, the next one is A Taste of Armageddon. Remember, that's the computers that are wiping out people, and Kirk and Spock have to go down there, and Kirk has to institute his general order, and says, we're going to start bombing your cities unless you stop what you're doing. And he gets full permission from the, to break the Prime Directive. Probably one of the few times he gets permission from Starfleet to do that, because he doesn't want to see the slaughter and the genocide continue. So Yeah, that's one of my decent episodes too. After this, well, this one obviously got an A+, but the one after it, I gave it a solid B, just like about everybody else did. About an 8.0 out of 10 was their rating, so that's fine. Yeah. So a taste of Armageddon is next week. That'd be cool. All right. Okay, and I haven't had a chance to say hello to one other person that walked in, Jeff B. Hello, Jeff B. Hi, Mikey and Lemon. Uh, Lemon says, but I have seen all of DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. Sweet. That is sweet, Lemon. Hello, Jeff B. And he says, hi, Mikey and Lemon. And Lemon says hello to him. Lemon says, I've seen only, I think, first two episodes of TNG. Lost interest. Yeah, that can happen. First season wasn't the best. But after Conspiracy, it got a lot better. So, yeah. Jeff B says, Corinthian leather. Yeah. Also, the fact that Marina Sirtis said we all deserve to pass away in Texas is a turnoff. Oh, well, that would make sense. Jeff B says, would be nice if actors stayed in their lane. Eh, Lemon? Yes. You know, when that's a good point that Sir Lemon brought up. When celebs start to get politically involved and then they start saying stupid shit like Marina Sirtis just did there, yeah, they belong in their own. You stay where you belong in your celebrity status, okay? As Deanna Troy, don't try to venture outside of your celebrity status as as Marina Sirtis and act politically stupid and say that everybody should pass away in Texas, even though they do have the bush leagues down there. Yeah, Anyway, if the episodes were compelling enough, I could get past that. Sure, sure you could, Lemon. I understand. Yeah, you should come talk with us tonight on the Cigar Lounge. I'm so sorry. I had to get something to drink there. Okay. All right. So tomorrow we have two more episodes of Get Smart, and we'll find out what those are tomorrow on Wednesday. Late, early morning Thursday, we have no choice. We have to evacuate this building after 11 o'clock in the morning with our cats. We have to stay out for about 4.5 hours. I think we're just going to do 4 hours. That's pretty good. Yeah, because they said this time they're gonna spray the whole building, this whole apartment. So, yeah. So and we'll keep the window open. So we're gonna stay out for at least 4 hours, and then we'll come back up here with our cats. So that's Thursday. So we're um, the 18 episodes starting season 4, episodes 1 and 2. It's a two-parter episode. Yeah, I'm going to be covering those very early on Thursday morning. So probably right after midnight Thursday morning on the 29th. So make sure you folks are here. Um, you know, I'm sorry that that's a different time than today, yesterday, or tomorrow, which is 12 noon tomorrow. We should still be able to do that regular time tomorrow for Get Smart. But yeah, um, I've been wanting to get to these first two episodes of season 4 for a while, and now I finally get a chance. So yeah, that'll be early Thursday morning. All right. Then, of course, tonight, don't forget to see us on Gorilla's Cigar Lounge, Gorilla's Censored Thoughts. Don't forget to watch us also. He'll be doing the last 4 episodes of the original Night Court in order on Thursday night. So, yeah. uh, and Booger414 and the lovely Miss Christine. How are you, Booger? He says, a celebrity being politically stupid? Say it isn't so. Well, it is so. It happens. Lemon says, I don't mind them being political. I do mind them telling me I'm an awful person who should perish because I don't agree with them. Okay, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Jeff P says enjoy a nice picnic or something. Well, we'll enjoy something. I thought I might bring down my pillow and just we go over to a private bench and lay there quietly and with the cats and just kind of crash out and everything. That's what we kind of plan on doing on Thursday. Booger says as for TOS versus TNG, I think TNG had some better episodes, but TOS was a better overall series. I totally agree with that, Booger. That makes a lot of sense. Lemon says yes. I hear TNG gets better after season one. It does. It does. Well, at the very end of season one is Conspiracy, probably one of the most darker, more controversial episodes because they outright kill somebody, on a kill setting, who was one of the last of those uh, creatures that tried to infiltrate the Starfleet. Yeah. So I mean that was still controversial to this day. A lot of people tell their kids don't even watch it because it's too gruesome, too gory, and the effects and the death and all that stuff. Yeah. So I mean, the first time I saw it, okay, let's be honest. When I saw it, I was in my early 20s, and I didn't really care, because I love action, I love horror. I have seen people die. Okay, I watched all the Friday the 13th. I watched all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I watched all of the Expendables. I've seen all these killing action series. I've seen we own every one of the John Wicks. Come on, if that's not enough action and violence and death, I don't know what else is. The Matrix, the series, all four of them. So, there's a lot of action, a lot of death and stuff, and I'm into that. We just finished watching Terminator Dark Fate. So now I've rewatched, except for the original, but I've seen the original so many times that way too many to talk about. Uh, you know, but I mean, I'd seen the other five with Gorilla, and I mean, we've seen them. So I mean, I've seen martial arts. I've seen where people die in martial arts battles and shit. Doesn't phase me. So when I saw the conspiracy episode from TNG, yeah, didn't bother me. I don't know. Booger says I stayed away from TNG for years. Even then, I hated reboots. Then I went to what is now the Paley Center. Right, and had a few hours to watch TV. I saw Darmok and was impressed. Oh yeah, Darmok, you know, Tell each other where the walls fell, or something like that. Yeah, and that plot line ended right there, despite the cliffhanger. Yeah, and Daniel's hot topics. Hello, Daniel. Good morning, Mikey. Good morning to you, sir. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. I can't wait for Matrix 5. I know, right? Even though it's getting some of the worst publicity ever, Daniel. I agree with you. I can't wait. I would like to see Matrix 5. That would be good. Yeah, Booker says I meant the one from Conspiracy. Right, right, right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's yeah. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay, so we've got 5 likes. Yay. We got 5 people still watching. Very, very cool. Um, I'll tell you, whenever I get a chance to rewatch this episode, Space Seed, I always want to. I do. Especially the fight between Kirk and Khan. However, we do know that's just two stunt doubles, right? It's not the real Kirk and not the real Khan. So Shatner's not really fighting Montalban, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm all right with that. And then it says, "Hey Daniel and Matt." Oh yeah, Matt 2890. Hello, Matt. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Mikey. Hope you're having a great day. We are so far, yeah. Thursday's gonna suck though. Thursday we have to be out of our apartment for 4 hours. The stupid exterminators are coming after 11 a.m. and so I had to move up my A-team review. Yeah, I have to move that up to early morning, just after midnight on Thursday. Yeah, it's gonna suck. Thursday's gonna be terrible. Yeah, for about 4.5 hours. Yeah. Daniel said, "Did you know the episode Conspiracy TNG episode? They wanted to make it a regular thing. Sadly, Roddenberry would not allow it. Roddenberry was against fun." Yeah, yeah, I know. Conspiracy could have been a good spin-off series, right? Maybe. Yeah. Uh, Lemon says Spacesuit is great on its own, but what a great setup for a future story too. Yes, that's why I considered it an A plus vehicle because it opened itself to future uh, repercussions, and that's what Star Trek II Wrath of Khan became a future repercussion of something that Kirk failed to do. He forgot to go check up on them when he dropped them off, and that led to severe repercussions, didn't it? And and he put them on the wrong world. This is Ceti Alpha 5. Yeah. Ceti Alpha 6 was blown out of orbit, and here we are. It was only with my intellect that we survived. I can't do a good con, but you know what I mean. It's just weird. But it was great. It was a great episode and a great movie to follow it. Yes. And, Nicholas Meyer, we can thank for saving the franchise with Rafa Khan. Yes. Definitely. Thank you, Nick Meyer. Booger says, seeing what they did with other recurring plots and characters, I'm not sure a conspiracy thread would have worked well. That's a good opinion, Booger. Yeah. Well, you got to talk. You got to talk to Daniel here because Daniel's, he's our eternal optimist. He's the one that would probably tell you, but it could work. So you really have to talk to him, Booger. Um, Lemon says, to-do list, laundry, check on con. Good one, Lemon. Good one. Daniel says also the best of both worlds was going to be the beginning of a Borg War arc, and it would have been a regular thing. Sadly, uh, Bruce Berman. Are you talking about Bruce Berman, not Dick Berman? Is it Bruce? It's Bruce. I think it's Bruce Berman. Anyway, sorry, Daniel. Would not allow it because that's not what Roddenberry would have wanted. True. That is true. Um, Plus, okay, let's be fair. Because remember that it was Q that brought them to view the Borg in the first place at J25. So when, of course, the Borg became aware, but you know what? According to Enterprise, way back when, with Scott Bakula's Archer, remember they caught those two, well, they tried to catch those two Borg. They found buried in the Antarctic, snow, and of course they reactivated, took over, assimilated some people, and then they were headed out to the Delta Quadrant, but got intercepted and destroyed by Malcolm Reed. So I'm sure their interplexing beacon was able to get a message out to their future selves, you know? So maybe they were ready, but it looks like they weren't when, they had the episode. So I don't know. It's weird. Let's see. Booger says many other episodes featured planets or populations that we never got closure on. To some extent, we have to imagine that some other ship checked on them later. We have to think that, sure, but I find it highly unlikely, Booger. If this, okay, if Kirk had said to the Federation, to Starfleet, these people are dangerous. We left them on the world so they could survive on their own because they could survive and thrive. They knew how to. I mean, they survived all those years in cryogenic, space, within their own cryogenic spaces, you know, in space. So who's to say that they couldn't survive on their own? And maybe that's why nobody really checked on them. It's just a theory, but I think it holds up water. It does. I think it does. Um, yeah, it's Rick Berman, but I call him Dick because he is a dick. Okay. Yeah, Rick Berman. I'm sorry, not Bruce. There is a Bruce Berman out there, but he works on something else. Yeah. So it is Rick Berman. You're right. Booger says the Trek comics have addressed some of these with mixed results. True, true. Daniel said that makes no sense. They were trying to tell us in TNG Enterprise regeneration that when the Borg got to 2063, when I am in my 70s, that the Enterprise torpedoed the Borg sphere and some Borg filled Earth. Yeah. And Lemon says, hi, Matt. Yes, hello, Matt. 2890. Well, we got 6 likes and we got 5 people still watching. So very, very cool. Okay. So we've got, like I said, 2 more episodes tomorrow. We're doing of Get Smart. And then Thursday we'll start season 4 of the A Team. And we've got the first 2-parter episode there. Episode 1 and episode 2 of season 4. So that should be a lot of fun. Yeah. And then this is not so because the Borg sphere was destroyed, blown up by Enterprise E. Those Borg would have been vaporized. Plot holes are a thing in Trek, Booger says. Yes. And hey, lemon pie from Matt, 2890. Yeah, well, you'll find that. Yeah, you folks will find that out a lot. There's huge plot holes in Star Trek all over the place. Yeah, things that don't quite make sense. One thing I did know for sure though was, you know, having Star Trek, Space Seed, and having Wrath of Khan come right after that later. Yeah, very very well done. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this wonderful thing we call social media. Today, we're giving a special shout out to all of our friends and family who are a part of our growing and continuing group of subscribers that we have going on. We do have 256. We do need 44 more to get to 300, so that we can have a 300 subscriber live stream and celebrate all the people we have in our community. Also, may the Lord Jesus Christ, along with his Father, uh, and of course, the Holy Spirit, and the most blessed Virgin Mary, along with our patron saints, Saint Suzanne, Saint Michael the Archangel, Defender of Heaven, who sent the evil one and the minions known as the fallen angels to hell. May they all bless us and keep us. So we ask that you do pray for us on all levels, and we ask this in your name, Lord, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. So, Daniel says, how on earth would they get to Earth? Not realistic. They could say, well, the Borg had personal shield generators, but the personal shields would not survive reentry. And Booger says, amen. Yeah, Daniel, well, it's interesting because they had to go back in time, of course, right, to save Cochrane, Zephyr Cochrane and everybody. But it does kind of make sense that, in a way, because if they had to go back in time to save him and make sure that the launch of the Phoenix would happen, and if, as it says, that, when they fired on the Borg sphere over Earth with the transphasic torpedoes, it would make sense not only that the Borg Queen was only able to move some of them over, but it would also make sense that some of them might have been blown out into space and they were protected by their organic and or electronic parts. And that's why they ended up in the snow down there in Antarctica to be encased